Hello children, I welcome you to the second session of the chapter Colonization of India from Trade to Territory. In the previous session, we discussed about the Britishers. We discussed how the Britishers were able to interfere in the matters of Bengal and how all this infuriated Sirajud-Dowlah. Sirajud-Dowlah was very infuriated by the ill practices of the Britishers, by their interference in the matters, and by the fact that they were trying to fortify the places. And so he attacked a factory at Qasim Bazar, and he also attacked the British factory at Qasim Bazar and also the fort, that is Fort William. We discussed this so far in the previous video. Then, to stop Siraj-ud-Dowlah, Robert Clive was sent. He was a very cunning British officer, and let's see what he did. Robert Clive, he offered money, made fake promises to Omi Chand, who was a very rich merchant, Mir Jafar, who was the commander of Siraj-ud-Dowlah, commander-in-chief, military commander, and Jagat Seth, who was a very rich banker. And all of them got against Siraj-ud-Dowlah. This once again reveals that the Indians were disunited and they were highly unscrupulous and unethical, and they could not see through the evil intentions of the Britishers, and they joined hands with the Britishers. As a result of this betrayal, Siraj-ud-Dowlah was defeated in the Battle of Plassey. Plassey, why? Because it was fought in a place in northeastern India. The name of the place is Palashi. So it came to be known as Battle of Plassey. In this battle, Siraj-ud-Dowlah was defeated. And why was he defeated? Because Omi Chand, Mir Jafar and Jagat Seth, they all betrayed Siraj-ud-Dowlah. They were disloyal to Siraj-ud-Dowlah. Now, after this, Mir Jafar, he became the ruler of Bengal. Who became the ruler of Bengal after the Battle of Plassey? It was Mir Jafar. Mir Jafar was just the puppet ruler in the hands of the Britishers. He did not have any real power. The Britishers kept demanding gifts from him, and he was very infuriated. And then the Britishers felt that he was not able to manage, and so from Mir Jafar the position was taken, and Mir Qasim, his son-in-law, Mir Jafar's son-in-law, Mir Qasim, became the new ruler. So what have I told you? That after the Battle of Plassey, Mir Jafar became the ruler, but then he was not able to fulfill the unending, never-ending demands of the Britishers, demands for gifts, for money, and so he was soon replaced by Mir Qasim, who was Mir Jafar's son-in-law only. But then Mir Qasim was once again a brave man, and he did not like the interference of the Britishers. He wanted to train his army. He did not want to give any concessions and privileges to the Britishers, and so the Britishers defeated Mir Qasim, and they declared Mir Jafar once again the ruler of Bengal. Mir Qasim did not keep quiet. He was defeated. He went to Nawab of Awadh. To the Nawab of Awadh. Now, Mir Qasim went to the Nawab of Awadh. His name was Shuja-ud-Dowlah. And to the Mughal Emperor Shah Alam II. Now, Mir Qasim was replaced by Mir Jafar, but then Mir Qasim joined hands with Shuja-ud-Dowlah, the Nawab of Awadh, and Shah Alam II, the Mughal Emperor. So Mir Qasim joined hands with Shuja-ud-Dowlah, the Nawab of Awadh, and Shah Alam II, the Mughal Emperor. And their combined forces attacked the Britishers in the Battle of Buxar. Buxar is again a place in northeast India, and then once again they were defeated again by treachery, by wrongful means, and after they were defeated, then let's see what were the consequences of Battle of Buxar. This is very important. See, first of all, Mir Qasim fled and he joined hands with Shujauddaulah, the Nawab of Awadh, and Shah Alam too, and they together attacked the Britishers. However, they were defeated in the Battle of Buxar on 22nd October 1764, and let's see what were the consequences of the Battle of Buxar. Now let's see the consequences of the Battle of Buxar. First of all, if I talk of Mir Qasim absconded, means he fled from the place. He ran away after that to save his life, because he knew that if he did not run away, then he would also be killed like Sirajuddaulah was killed in Battle of Plassey. Right? So he fled. Mir Qasim fled out of the scene. Now let's discuss about Shujauddaulah. Shujauddaulah was compelled to pay an indemnity of rupees 50 lakhs. Indemnity means a compensation, stating that he was mistaken, that he raised arms against the Britishers, and so he had to pay rupees 50 lakhs to the Britishers as indemnity, as compensation. Let's discuss about Mughal Emperor Shah Alam II. He was very, very old, and then this old man was captured in a fort in Allahabad. He was given two places, Allahabad and Kara, to rule, and actually he was actually captured in Allahabad, and it was said that he had been given protection by the Britishers, and the Britishers also promised that annually they would give him rupees 26 lakhs. They did not keep their promise later on, like always, and they captured him in a fort in Allahabad, means he lived in the fort, and there was British army 24/7, and his places like Bihar, Orissa. From there, the Britishers started collecting tax. The Britishers got Diwani right of those places, and of course they got Diwani right of Bengal also. So they got a lot of money, the Britishers. They got Diwani right of Bengal, Bihar, and now present day Odisha. And Shah Alam II was captured in a fort in Allahabad, and he was given two districts, Allahabad and Kara, to rule. But in reality, it was the Britishers who were ruling. He was promised rupees 26 lakhs, which was never given. And then Shujauddaulah, the Nawab of Awadh, had to pay rupees 50 lakhs. Then the Britishers installed dual government in Bengal. Of course, Mir Jafar was ruling, and it was the Britishers also who were ruling. Now the Britishers had the right to collect all the revenue. Nawab had to look after the grievances of the people. Nawab did not have much money. He was given very little share of money. How to look after all the affairs of the courts and all the affairs of the people? It was very difficult. Then the Britishers they extracted money from the peasants in such a way that they were impoverished. They became very, very poor. In fact, when there was famine in Bengal, they did not give any relaxation to the people, and this had been the worst famine witnessed in the Indian history, killing lakhs of people. So the concept of dual government was a disaster and a catastrophe for the people living in Bengal. Then Warren Hastings ended this system of dual government. Warren Hastings was a governor general, and then he said that there would be just one government, that is British government, ruling over Bengal. So the first place that came under the direct control of the Britishers was Bengal. Now, when they were ruling, when they started ruling Bengal, and before that, when dual government was installed in Bengal, they used to get so much revenue from Bengal that the English officers, they became so very rich. Who were just from the humble backgrounds. They became so very rich. They became the the new rich people of the society, and they were called nabobs. So imagine how much money was raised by them, and it was used for their own benefits, and they became rich. They started having luxurious items and assets, and they were called nabobs because they became the new rich, the new rich segment of the society due to drawing lot of wealth from Bengal. Then if I talk of Mysore, Mysore was ruled by Hyder Ali, very brave person, and his son Tipu Sultan, known as Tiger of Mysore, very very brave. Tipu Sultan was in contact with the French, and he wanted to train his army on the French lines, which was absolutely correct. Then he also wanted to stop the Britishers from trading in Malabar coast because they used ill practices. They did things for their own advantage. They used to export sandalwood, spices, cardamom from Mysore to their country, and he also stopped the traders of Mysore from trading in British goods. Then in the first Anglo-Mysore war, that means the Britishers and Mysore war, the Britishers were crushed by Hyder Ali. Then Treaty of Madras was signed. What was signed? Treaty of Madras. So far I am discussing about Mysore. Mysore was ruled by Hyder Ali, and Tipu Sultan, his son, he started training the army along the French lines. He took the help of French to train his army. He did not like the Britishers trading in along the Malabar coast, and he also stopped the people from selling the British goods, the people of Mysore. Then the first Anglo-Mysore war was fought between the Britishers and Hyder Ali, and Hyder Ali defeated the Britishers, and then Treaty of Madras was signed, according to which the Britishers would help Hyder Ali in case of any attack, and Hyder Ali and Mysore would also help Britishers. But then the Marathas attacked Hyder Ali and Mysore, but the Britishers did not do anything. This infuriated Hyder Ali. Then Hyder Ali was killed while fighting against the Britishers in Chittor. But then his son Tipu Sultan, he continued fighting. Then in second Anglo-Mysore war, Treaty of Mangalore was signed. Then again there was third Anglo-Mysore war. Why? Because the Britishers were infuriated as Tipu Sultan tried stopping the Britishers, and he was in close contact with the French. Then after this, after the third Anglo-Mysore war, his two sons were taken away by the Britishers, two sons of Tipu Sultan, and he had to pay a huge fine, and the British officer Lord Cornwallis, he fought the third Anglo-Mysore war against Tipu Sultan. And see, the Britishers are very clever. They also gave greed and offer to the Marathas to join the Britishers. So the Marathas and the Britishers together fought Tipu Sultan in the third Anglo-Mysore war. As a result, his sons were taken. Then there was an offer by Lord Wellesley. He was again very clever. He offered to Tipu Sultan that his army should be there in the court of Tipu Sultan, and he should accept that the ultimate power was the Britishers. That is called subsidiary alliance. We will discuss about it in detail. So once again there was an offer to Tipu Sultan to surrender by Lord Wellesley. Lord Cornwallis already defeated him in the third battle and took away the sons. Then Lord Wellesley offered that he should surrender. He did not. He rejected, and as a result there was fourth Anglo-Mysore war, and finally and very unfortunately Tipu Sultan was killed while defeating Seringapatnam. Now see, after Bengal, Mysore came under the Britishers. Then the Marathas, they thought that the Britishers were with them. Marathas forgot that the Britishers were never loyal to anyone. They were just grinding their own axes. And then the Marathas did not have any brave ruler. after actually were the Marathas were defeated in the third battle of Panipat by Shujauddaulah. By Shujauddaulah, he defeated the Marathas because the Indians did not have unity, right? The Marathas were fighting with Tipu Sultan. Shujauddaulah defeated Marathas in the third battle of Panipat. The Marathas lost their leader. The ministers of the Marathas, they started trying to capture the small districts. There were various dynasties like Bhosles, Scindias, Holkars, they all were fighting among themselves. Then the Britishers took advantage of this and the Britishers defeated Marathas and the whole of Maharashtra came under the Britishers. So first they took Bengal under them. Second they took Bengal under them. Second they took Mysore under them. Then they took advantage of the Marathas and they brought Marathas under them, Maharashtra under them. Then after the death of Raja Ranjit Singh, they brought Punjab under them, because after the death of again Raja Ranjit Singh, what happened? The other ministers, they were trying to become the king. Again, they lacked unity. So this is how the Britishers captured all the places under them. And how they captured the remaining parts of the country, we will discuss in the next turn. Till then, I request all of you to take very good care of yourselves. Thank you and have a great day ahead.